All right, hey everybody, welcome to the Coding Zoo. If this is your first time joining, my name is Shane, and this is the Coding Zoo. Our goal at Coding Zoo is to help others learn how to program. So, in today's episode, we are going to cover, we're going to cover four new books. So, we're going to cover 4 different books. The categories we're going to touch upon are interviewing for your job, how to practice for that. We're going to cover books on Java and best practices. We're going to cover books on just concurrent type programming, not concurrency. We're going to cover books on dollars. Yeah. No, we're going to cover books on concurrency type programming. We're going to cover books on object-oriented programming or domain-driven design. So we're going to go over 4 different books to kind of touch on these categories. I think you'll like them. They're some of my favorite. Let's jump right in. All right, so hey, let's first touch upon interviewing for your job. Now, interviewing for a new job is a tough process. And I've been a software engineer for 20 plus years, and every time I have to interview for a new job, I have to really study hard. Why? Because it's a science. It's a very tough process, and oftentimes it's not exactly what you'll be doing on your job, but it is a tough process, and it's something you have to prepare for. So how do you prepare for an interview? Well, one way I would recommend to prepare is to follow the practices and suggestions of this book I have in front of me. Now, this book is the 5th edition of Cracking the Coding Interview. So if you've heard of it before, you're probably saying, oh yeah, that's the interview Bible. And it is. For engineers, this is basically the interview Bible. It's a very excellent book on how to interview for coding positions. So it was written by Gail Lockman-McDowell. Hope I said your name right, Gail. Gail, thank you for this book. I'm sure it's been so helpful to so many people. Definitely an awesome book. So it has 150 interview questions and answers. It walks you through that, but not only does it give you practice questions on different subjects, but it also gives you concepts to learn. In other words, it gives you pointers on how to approach a particular problem. So, for example, there's 5 ways to tackle an algorithm. She goes over the different ways of approaching an algorithm and tackling a particular problem. So very, very helpful. Helps you see how to look at a problem and tackle it in the interview. Now, it not only goes over different concepts like that and also over technical problems that give you practice, but it also goes over items such as behavioral questions and other types of questions you may get in an interview. It's a great way to practice for a job interview. If you can do the questions in this book and get used to this approach, it's a big plus for passing that interview process. Great book. So this is the 5th edition. I'm not sure she's on the 6th. You can check it out on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below. Cracking the Coding Interview. Again, by Gail Lockman-McDowell. Hope I said your name right again, Gail. Again, Gail, hey, thanks for this book. Awesome book. Now, the next book may not be for most people. This is more for around the area of using the programming language Java. There are still some kind of good concepts that may apply across languages, but for the most part, it's for the language Java. Now, this book is fairly old edition. This is updated for Java 9, but it's still very practical and still relevant today. It's a very good book. It's called Effective Java, and it's by Joshua Block. So Effective Java basically goes over the best practices when you're writing Java code. And let me tell you, there are some nice nuggets in this book. It's one of my favorite books on how to write good Java code. A lot of good suggestions on best practices of writing Java code. It makes a lot of sense. It's one of those books you read through and you're like, oh yeah, why didn't I think about that? That makes a lot of sense. It's one of those type of books. A lot of good nuggets. Highly recommend Effective Java, Joshua Block. So if you're writing Java code and you haven't read this book, you should get it. You should definitely get it. Highly recommend it. Now, the next book also is written for Java Concurrency and Practice. Now, if you're not a Java programmer, would I recommend this book? Actually, I would. This is not only a great book for just programming and concurrent programming in Java, it's a great book for understanding certain key concepts when it comes to concurrent programming multiple threads and sharing state between threads. It's an excellent book on concurrent type programming in general. So if you're in a situation where you're going to be writing multi-threaded type programs, running concurrent threads, concurrent processes, this is the book for you. I consider it like one of the best books that ever touched upon this area of programming. It was definitely an eye-opener for me. And it's definitely helped me to realize a lot of the problems you can get into if you don't understand concurrent programming, don't understand how to handle threads and managing the state around those threads. Throughout my career, the biggest bugs that we've found in production is when a programmer didn't understand these concepts and they started doing things, writing code in such a way that caused defects in production, and those defects were caused because of state management and multiple threads. And they were hard to troubleshoot. They were hard to narrow down because you had to have a particular situation happen at the right time to cause those bugs, to cause those side effects. So when you mess up in this area, you kind of really mess up. And it can cause big issues and hard to troubleshoot issues in a production system. So this is an area of study that I believe all back-end programmers really should understand clearly. I think this book covers the concept well, whether you're writing in Java or not. It definitely covers the concepts well. Highly recommend it. Java Concurrency in Practice. Now, I don't think there's a very new edition. It doesn't matter. It hasn't changed a lot. The concepts apply kind of across time. It's still very relevant for today. Highly recommend it. Java Concurrency in Programming. It is written by Brian Goetz. Brian, if I slaughtered your name, my apologies. I'm really bad with names this morning. Brian Goetz. I think I got it right. So Java Concurrency in Practice. I consider it like the concurrency programming Bible. One of the better books. All right, last but not least, one of my favorite books when it comes to object-oriented programming and domain-driven design with object-oriented programming, and that is a book called Domain-Driven Design, Tackling Complexity in the Heart of Software. So domain-driven design basically goes over how to approach object-oriented programming by considering the domain you're working in, the business domain you're working in, and making the right choices based upon that business domain. So it's an approach to object-oriented design. It's written by Eric Evans. The foreword's written by Martin Fowler. I really highly recommend anyone that's doing any type of object-oriented programming to read Domain-Driven Design. One of the best books on object-oriented modeling and how to approach it, and how to approach it from the customer's perspective, from the domain you're working in. So it's a very excellent book on how to do domain-driven design modeling in an object-oriented world, how to approach it from the business perspective to where you're modeling your object-oriented programming in a correct and efficient way. Highly recommended if you're doing object-oriented programming. If you're programming on the back end in Java or C++, or you're doing any type of object-oriented programming, hey, you need to read this book. Excellent book. Hey, so that's it for today. So I've covered other books on this channel. I'll put links to those videos below. Occasionally we'll go over some of my favorite. These four are definitely in my top 10. I highly recommend you as an engineer, if you are touching upon these subjects are relevant to what you're doing, I highly recommend that you check them out. Now, some of these are a little bit older. Doesn't matter. The concepts still apply. They're still very good books. And in most cases, a lot of them are considered, and in most cases, they're considered the expert book on the subject. You know, they're like the subject Bible for that particular subject. Very good books. I've really enjoyed them, and they've taught me a lot throughout my career. So I'll put links to each book below. You can check them out on Amazon. If you have any questions about any of the books, hey, definitely leave me a message below, and I'll get back to you. I will also put links to other videos going over the other books that I recommend. Check those videos out. If you enjoyed this video and this is your first time watching, hey, click that subscribe button. Help me get the word out. That promotes the channel a lot, and I really appreciate it. And if you liked the video, click the like button. If you see this video and you get a chance to read one of these books, get back to me. Let me know. Let me know if it was helpful to you. I really would love to hear your experience, and hopefully you find the books as helpful as I did. So I would love to hear that. So leave me a message below if you've checked the books out and you've enjoyed them. I really would love to hear back from you. So hey, again, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. I want you to have a great week, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.